You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Polly Requa, interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. Bark and Wag is dedicated to protecting our dogs through advocacy, education, and supporting like-minded dog lovers by selling custom pet products. Bark and Wag is excited to announce our new partnership with a Colorado hemp farm to produce a line of CBD products for your pets. Bark and Wag has CBD pet tincture available in 300, 750, 1200, and 2400 milligrams. Bark and Wag CBD is pet safe, no THC, it's made in the USA, and is CO2 extracted. Please check out Bark and Wag's website, barkandwag.com. That is BARK, to see our line of CBD and awesome merchandise. We love pooch ideas for podcasts and merchandise, so anytime send an email to Polly at barkandwag.com with your suggestions.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Polly Requa. Today we're interviewing Ellie Laks, founder of Gentle Barn Foundation, and has just published a book called Cow Hug Therapy, How the Animals at the Gentle Barn Taught Me About Life, Death, and Everything in Between. Welcome, Ellie. Thanks for being back on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's good to talk to you again.
Yes. So tell us all about the book. How exciting.
Yes, I'm so excited. My second book came out. It's called Cow Hug Therapy, How the Gentle Barn Animals Taught Me About Life, Death, and Everything in Between. And it's these remarkable stories of some of the Gentle Barn animals, their resilience, their recovery, their forgiveness, their learning to trust. And more importantly, during their journey, it's all the extraordinary life lessons that they taught me and that they have for all of us about our own humanity. They teach us how to celebrate birth. They teach us how to mourn death. They teach us how to walk someone home that's passing away with grace and dignity. They teach us about self-care, meditation, and gratitude. They teach us about compassion fatigue. And Cow Hug Therapy is also about our very unique branded therapy program that we have here at the Gentle Barn, where hurting humans come and they actually do cow hug therapy sessions where they can rest their bodies and their faces against our giant cows, close their eyes, feel their energy, get grounded and centered, clear their mind of thought, be immersed in present time, and get cracked open to vulnerability and humility. And that's where healing starts. So it's about these extraordinary animals, and it's also about the extraordinary work that they do with hurting humans.
And so are all of these sessions at one of your Gentle Barn facilities?
Cow Hug Therapy sessions we offer at all Gentle Barn locations in Los Angeles, California, Nashville, Tennessee, and St. Louis, Missouri.
And then tell us about your first cow and how this came to be.
So Cow Hug Therapy was created by our very first cow named Buddha 25 years ago. So I knew that I loved cows, and of course I was thrilled to get the opportunity to save our very first cow. She came to the Gentle Barn, and I knew right away that she was no ordinary cow. She was very affectionate. She was unafraid of humans, and she actually sought out the attention of our visitors, beckoning them to brush her and interact with her. But it wasn't until one evening where I was running around tucking everybody into bed before I myself went to bed, and I patted her on the head and I was about to move on, and something about the way she was looking at me, it was like she was calling me to sit for a while. So I said, sure, I'll spend some time with you. And I sat down and I rested my back against her shoulder. And what she did next changed the course of the Gentle Barn's history. She wrapped her neck around me and held me. And I was so surprised by this unexpected show of affection that I didn't even realize how stressed out I was during that day. And I ended up crying onto her shoulder as she held me. And those nightly hugs became something that I needed in order to wash away the day and strengthen me for the next morning. And after a few weeks of this, she was holding me together with those hugs. And I realized that there are so many other hurting humans out there that need these hugs also, that I started calling drug and alcohol rehab centers, domestic violence shelters, war veteran centers, senior centers, foster agencies, schools for those with disabilities and the underserved. And I invited them to bring their hurting humans to the Gentle Barn, and they did. And those cow hug therapies for every visitor, it was like watching a miracle. It was watching people that were cold and defensive and hardened by what they had been through just melt into open, vulnerable kids. And it was a miracle every single time. And it was an honor. It's been an honor to watch that for the last 25 years. And I just had to write a book about it.
Wow, that's amazing. And so how do you feel it's different from traditional forms of therapy? I know there's horse therapy, but cow therapy, that's cutting edge.
It really is. Traditional talk therapy is wonderful when you can talk about your experiences, your trauma, and your pains, dissect them for the lessons hidden within, and then be better for it. But there are people in every sect of the community that have either been through trauma that they don't remember, have been through trauma that they don't want to talk about, and they're too angry or shut down to go there, or they're suffered a great loss and they're grieving and there's not really much to talk about. It just hurts like heck. For those people, instead of traditional therapy where you need words and conversation and you need to have a very active left brain, cow hug therapy is really the opposite, where the left brain shuts down, the right brain is enacted, that connects us to our creativity and our intuition and energy. And without words or conversation, we're feeling the connection with these beautiful, gentle giants. We're feeling the energy of their nurturing, unconditional love and healing. We're feeling immersed in present time while we're being grounded and centered. And it's something that feels amazing that we can then move forward feeling hopeful and stronger.
So I've interviewed a few people that have a sanctuary for goat and sheep and llamas and never cows. And so what do you feel, or what can cows teach us about being human? When you're with them, are they able to communicate with you?
Yes. And I think cows teach us a tremendous amount about being human. I almost called my book that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I wanted to call it Cow Hug Therapy, How Cows Teach Us to Be Human. But my publisher, liked the first version, so that's fine. But they have everything to teach us, and I'll tell you why. When you look back hundreds of years, we were matriarchal. We had shaman, we had medicine women. They went out in nature and brought us medicine from plants. We were very, very intuitive, both with humans and with animals and all life. We were very connected. We were a very beautiful community that supported one another. And we gathered to celebrate birth, to mourn death. And we knew that the veil between physical life and the afterworld was very, very thin. And we knew that we could still access our loved ones once they left. We have come very far since that time. We live in a very fast-paced, high-tech world right now. We really are not, for the most part, a community. We're kind of these individual people or individual families scattered all over the world. I suppose religion brings community, but for most of us, we don't have that sense of community. We have friends and family, but it's not a huge, big tribe like it used to be. There's been wonderful advances technologically and medically with the patriarchy that we now live in. But the gentleness, the collaboration, the creativity, the connection that feminine energy used to bring in does not have a very loud voice right now. And when you look at cows, they are the example of who we used to be. They are a matriarchal society led by the wisest female. Family and togetherness is their most sacred and highly cherished value. They are vegan, so they harm no one. Their hooves and their teeth are designed to not pull the grass out by its roots, so they actually leave the pasture better off than when they found it. They don't go into denial. They face their challenges head on. Cows do. They gather in a circle to support someone who is giving birth. They gather in a circle to support someone who's passing away and to pay their respects. They gather in that same circle to support someone who's grieving the loss of a loved one, and they really support one another. It's a beautiful tribe and a beautiful community. Cows are excellent mothers, and they actually nurse their babies for up to 4 or 5 years when allowed to. Obviously at the Gentle Barn, we don't tear families apart. And so over the last 25 years at the Gentle Barn, we've been able to really see who these cows truly are, how they behave with one another, and how much they have to offer us as far as reminding us who we used to be and holding space for us to return to that gentle, beautiful family.
So how does someone, of the listeners in the area of one of your Gentle Barn locations, how do they make a reservation to get a cow hug?
So the best way is to go to gentlebarn.org and press on programs. And then in the programs, it'll list all of the therapeutic things that we do for hurting humans. Cow hug therapy is one of them. And they can book a session right there, either at our St. Louis location, our Nashville location, or our Los Angeles location. And for people that can't visit right away, and I encourage you to kind of, hopefully one day you can come out. But in the meantime, read Cow Hug Therapy, because the beautiful cows and other animals at the Gentle Barn will leap off the page and help you fall in love with them and deliver those life lessons. You can also follow the Gentle Barn and our animals on all social media platforms. And through social media, you can feel connected and feel like you're with us as well.
And how do people get a hold of your book?
Cow Hug Therapy is available on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, anywhere books are sold, and people can find a signed copy at gentlebarn.org.
Well, thank you for being on the podcast, and we certainly love all the work you're doing and look forward to having you back on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.